This isn't a confession. You can't prove a damn thing, so don't even try. I'll deny it to my grave. I'm on my third drink for the evening anyways. You can't trust the word of a drunken man. That's when I start to feel anything these days, the third drink. Sometimes it takes 4, but usually 3 will do. It's the same cycle every night for weeks now. I drink, then I start to feel. Then the fear comes over me. Then I drink some more until I pass out. Wake up, slog through the day. Keep my head down, keep my chin up. Don't draw anyone's attention. Go home, repeat. One night a few weeks back there was a man at my door. I answered it, wondering what in the devil he was doing there at this time of night. I live at the end of my street and there's no one around for quite a ways. And even the churchgoers that comb the neighborhood rarely make it all the way to my house. "Help me," he gasped, his blood-flecked lips quivering in the rain. His forearm was badly broken, bits of bone sticking out through the skin. He was pale and drenched, the rain and blood dripping steadily from his haggard frame, pooling on my porch beneath him. "There's been an accident. I need help," he winced. "Can you help me?" I nodded dumbly, shocked at his state, then ran inside looking for my cell phone. But by the time I got back to the door, he was gone. The only sign of him a trail of splattered red, leading down my front steps and out into the yard. I stood there, shocked for a moment, and then I put the phone away, slammed the door, and locked it. I don't know why, I was just scared, frightened by the whole affair, and some part of me, some damn selfish part of me, kept saying it's okay. It's someone else's problem. He's gone. Forget about it. So I poured myself a drink to ease my nerves, and then another. A few drinks later I had forgotten all about him, and a few drinks after that I drunk myself to sleep. I woke up with my head throbbing. I'm not a heavy drinker. Well, used to not be one anyways. I stepped outside and noticed that there was no blood on my porch, and breathed a sigh of relief. Maybe the rain washed it all away, I thought. Or maybe it hadn't happened at all. I went to work nursing my hangover, but I made it through the day, came home, and tried to relax. I'd slept poorly the night before, and my day took what energy I had. So I decided early in the evening to call it a night. I was just about to go to bed when there was another knock at the door. I froze looking over to it. My heart raced. I tried to laugh off my rising fear. It was just someone at the door, nothing to be afraid of. But as my hand reached for the knob, I heard his voice, the same quaking shudder of a voice from the night before. "Help! I need help!" I stood stone still as he pounded on the door. "God, it hurts," he shouted. "Please, why won't you help me?" I put my back to the door, bracing it, squeezing my eyes shut. This isn't real, I thought. It can't be. And after a few seconds, the knocking stopped and it was quiet. I flung open the door, but there was no one there, no trace of blood or sign of his presence. Unsettled, I shut the door, locked it, and reached for a bottle. And so it went for 4 more days, each night the same. The knocking, the horrible man at my door, the cries for help. And each night I secured the door and waited until it stopped, then drank myself into oblivion. By the 7th night I'd had enough. I made a stiff drink as soon as I got home, and then another and another after that one. I had thought of nothing but the events of the previous week that day, so naturally I was anticipating the knocking when it came again that night, confirming my paranoid fears. I was waiting for it. I threw open the door upon the first knock, and there he was, battered arm hanging limp at his side, pale face twisted into a grimace. But before he could say anything, I leveled my shotgun at his face and pulled the trigger. His head popped like a blister, and I fired a second time, blowing his arm clean off and leaving a hole in his torso. Covered in his wet viscera, I shut the door. I want to say I was in a trance, that I was on autopilot and out of my head, but that's not true. I knew exactly what I was doing. I was trying to make a point to myself. See, I'm a level-headed man. I don't believe in ghosts or the supernatural or anything like that. We live in a rational world, and I damn well wasn't going to sit back and let my head play tricks on me without fighting back. They say blood is hard to wash off, but it's not true. His blood washed right off of me. One shower later, I was good as new. So when I finished up cleaning up and calming down, I went back to the front door. I likewise expected there to be nothing there, as there had been no trace of him left from the previous nights. I couldn't believe it when I opened the door and his remains slumped inside like a sack full of meat. I reached down and poked the corpse. It was solid. The porch was covered in blood and gore. Once more I panicked, and this time I did go into a sort of trance. The hours passed in a blur, as I dragged the body around to the back of the house, dug out a shallow grave, cleaned off the porch as best I could, and took another shower. And then I made another drink. Tomorrow the knocking would come again, I was sure. I hadn't just killed a man and buried him in my backyard. When I got home the next evening, I sat and waited anxiously. At any moment the knocking would come. The man would again be at my door, waiting for me, asking for help. Maybe tonight I'd laugh and invite him in, ask him if he wanted a drink. I thought, sipping my own drink nervously. The minutes stretched out, and it felt like I'd waited an eternity when it finally came. The knocking. I breathed a sigh of relief as I rushed to the door. But it wasn't the man from the previous nights. It was the police. A car had gone off the road the night before. They wanted to know if I'd seen anyone. Maybe it was my drunken state that allowed me to lie so convincingly. But after telling them I knew nothing of it, they bid me a good evening and left. My pulse pounded in my head. This couldn't be happening, I thought. It wasn't real. The thoughts piled on, one by one, and all I could do to quell them was to keep drinking until I lost consciousness. I called in sick the next day. I checked my backyard, and sure enough, the grave I'd dug was still there. Still fresh. I dug him up and burned the body until it was ash. When I was done, I went back inside the house and numbly sat down. And since then, I can't feel anything. Not until I drink. Usually 3, sometimes 4. And it's only then that I start to feel it. The fear. See, I'm not afraid of ghosts. I don't believe in them. I've never believed in them. Probably in part because I was raised by my heavily superstitious mother. She made herself a living as a psychic, telling fortunes. She claimed that she had the sight, that she could see persons' fate before it happened, and she had a steady stream of gullible clients that kept a roof over our heads and food on our table. So it didn't make a big deal out of it. But like any other kid, I rebelled against her and her beliefs, and when I left home I found plenty of support for that rebellion. Psychics aren't real, right? No one can see the future, right? Because now I'm afraid my mother wasn't faking it, that she could really see the fate of all those people who came to her. And I'm afraid, I'm so terribly damn afraid, that now I can see it too. This is a story I do not tell often. I promise sincerely that this has scarred me for life, and although I have looked into psychological explanations for what I heard and natural explanations for what occurred, they remain unsatisfactory. When I was a child, I was scared of the dark. I swore to my mother I heard voices in it. They were not evil, but they were not familiar, and so they scared me. It was not uncommon in the middle of the night for me to wake up and hear whispers, as I would call them when asking my mom. She figured they were just bumps in the night and typical kids' nightmare material. I tried often to explain to her that it was more than that they sounded different from one another, the way people's voices do. On some nights I would get so scared from these whispers that I would sleep in my mom's bed with her. It was an added bonus that outside her room was the bathroom for my late night tinkles. I should add at this point that when walking out into the hall to go to the bathroom, you look directly down the stairs that would lead you into my living room on the first floor. On one such night, around Christmas, I awoke and felt the need to relieve myself. I walked out from the door and distinctly heard the phrase, "Look!" And to my astonishment, a red light, almost like a spotlight, was cast upon the wall at the very bottom of the stairs. The light had no other source, it was by itself, and I was transfixed by it. Being a little kid, and it only being a few days from Christmas, I knew what this light was. It was Santa. How else could he get into my house to know I was being a good boy? I was so excited I began walking down the stairs to greet him, picking up my pace after the second step as it began to creep off the wall and fade into the darkness in my living room. That's when I heard him, a very strong masculine voice, different from the first, not at all like my father's. It said, "Stop, right now, go back up those stairs." I listened, turned around, and what happened next I'm not sure. I would believe if someone had told me the same story. After reaching the top of the stairs, I heard a very large crash that sent me running back to my mother's bed, where I jumped straight under the covers and stayed there the whole night. When we awoke the next morning, the poinsettia lights my mother had put on the railing down the stairs were pulled straight down to the bottom of the stairs, some broken from what it seemed like a forceful tear, laying in a single pile. The dry sink in my living room had fallen from the wall. My mother could not explain it. My father was worried that we'd been victims of a home invasion. My sister was crying. There was nothing missing. Nobody had broken in. There did not seem to be any reason this had happened. And then I saw it, and I kept quiet about it because I was so afraid that I could not force words out of my mouth. There on the edge of the wooden dry sink, which had been facing up, were 3 indentations where the finish on the wood had been worn, almost as if a forceful grip. Something down there had grabbed it and threw it down. That was what the bang was. I was mortified. After that day, I never heard a single voice again. I do not like to imagine what was waiting downstairs for me that night. It's a cool, calm night. You worked hard that day, and you feel ready for a good night's sleep. You climb into your bed and turn off the light. You notice that considering you live alone, it's unusually quiet tonight. Ever since the death of your next-door neighbor, the loud rap music woke you up in the middle of the night, no more. The police were quite reliable in these parts, but you can't help feel a little disturbed that for all the blood that was spilled and mess that was caused, the investigators still don't seem to have a lead. You tell yourself not to worry. The community is on their toes. No sensible killer would go sneaking around this town. You lay down and close your eyes. As you drift off into sleep, a clear view of the front of your house floats into your vision. Lights off except for the television in the downstairs window that you must have forgotten to turn off. You sit up. What kind of dream was that? No, it was more vivid, more distinct than a dream. Strange. Oh well, you think as you lay back down. Not long after you close your eyes, you get a similar vision of your front door. Again, you wake up. What's going on here? No matter. You left all your doors locked. Still, you feel a bit disturbed as you lay back down. The stairs leading up to the upstairs hallway fill your mind. The picture at the top of the staircase grows larger as you seem to be moving slowly up the stairs. You try to remain asleep, but abruptly sit up when you hear the wooden steps creak outside of your door. Paranoia gets the better of you and you pull a small pistol out of your nightstand you keep around for self-defense. Holding it doesn't seem to give you as much comfort as you thought it would, as the steps continue to creak slowly, as whatever it is slowly ascends to the hallway. You get up and poise the gun at the door. The creaking stops. A few minutes pass and you decide that you really have gone crazy with paranoia. Now that you realize it was only your imagination, you tell yourself to go to bed and have checked tomorrow. But what were those visions? A dream? A spiritual warning? Your own mind playing tricks on you? These thoughts pester you as you slowly close your eyes, still standing in the middle of the bedroom facing the door. You snap awake and you aim your pistol at the bedroom door, ready to strike at any moment. From the vision you just saw, whatever's perspective you were telepathically receiving was standing right on the other side of the door. What did you do? How did he get in? Is this all in your head? Is it safe to return to sleep? No. Then it will surely attack while you're off guard. You take a minute or so to gather your courage and approach the door. You slowly grasp the knob, turn it ever so softly. Then you kick the door open and almost pull the trigger. But you realize there's nothing out there but a dark hallway. That was close. You almost caused a huge ruckus in the neighborhood. The last thing you need for all this stress. You take a deep breath to regain composure. Close your eyes, stretch your tense muscles, and you see yourself from behind, staring out into the hallway.
If you like what you heard, please like, subscribe, and share with your friends. If you'd like to, you can follow me at Twitter. The handle is @FuzzyPantaloons, and I'll see you all next time.